and I was burning out. I was, in retrospect, trying to fill a need of not enoughness inside of me.
All the things that we chase to either prove to somebody else who matters greatly to us or to prove to ourselves that we're worthy, that we're enough.
I would say that it's just been a long process for me, Michelle. That is a big challenge for me to embrace my internal worth. That all of a sudden for me feels like freedom, you know?
Right.
It feels so good.
To this episode of the Game Changer podcast. My name is Michelle Dutro, and I am joined today by David Trotter. Now, let me tell you, you may know him from the Awakened Hearts magazine. You should. If you don't, we'll get into more of that later. Let's see, we have the book series that I should certainly know about because I am blessed enough to be part of that. That's the Awakened Hearts book series, and then we have Awaken magazine. But before we get into that, we're going to head that way. But before we do, David, I want to back your journey up a little bit because I thought I had the most weavy road of a path of a journey to get where I'm at until I did a deep dive into your journey and thought, I have a kindred spirit here on the windy road of life journey. So backing this up, I know you started in Kentucky, made your way to California at about 16, pastor, helped start a few churches, author of how many books?
I think a dozen, something like that.
I think so. How many full-length feature documentaries, producer, director?
I've done 3 documentaries, 1 scripted film.
Yeah, that's all that is. All of these things are easily independent careers unto themselves. And then now here we are on to the next evolution. So all of those independent things, I want to back up here.
So you're just saying I'm old is what you're saying.
No, you know what? It's amazing what you've done in 5 years. It's fantastic. And by the time you're 30, imagine what you'll do. I want to back this up. And then we also have Behind the Lids, which is a phenomenal meditation center. We're also going to chat about here at the end because it's an odd little connection you and I have together. But let's back up here. You're in Kentucky. You come to California. Why? Why would that be? What was the big driver for that? And then the next thing when you're done with that is my next step is how do you then become a pastor out here? So what happened there in the early days?
Well, first of all, it's great to be with you.
Thank you.
I did grow up in Kentucky. When I was 16, my parents had a vision of starting a church in Northern California where my dad had spent his years in high school as a military kid. And so at the time, my dad worked for the government. And so he asked for a transfer. We got a transfer to Northern California. And I had a really strong accent and I really did not fit in California. I thought we were moving to the land of beaches and babes and palm trees. And we moved to a town called Lodi, and that is known for cows and vineyards. And so my accents definitely stood out, but found my way in the midst of what's called a youth group right at a local church where my parents were attending and just kind of getting to know the area. And how I ended up moving toward that role of being a pastor, went to a big youth event when I was 18 and sensed what I would call a calling into Christian ministry. I didn't know what that meant. All I knew was I felt compelled to serve God in this capacity of what I'm looking at this guy up front as a pastor leading people. I didn't know what that meant, but pursued that instead of going the route that I had planned, which was I was planning to be a professional photographer. I had done a lot of years in the darkroom and won awards for my sports photography, and I was planning to go down that path, but shifted and went to a college and got a bachelor's and master's in Christian ministry, and then went on to seminary to get another degree in church ministry, and then eventually helped start churches for about 10 years here in Orange County, Southern California.
So as interesting is it to me on why people do things, it's also fascinating on why people shift gears and decide not to do something. So what was the causation there of you pivoting and leaving that role onto your next endeavor?
Yeah, in 2003, started a church from scratch, which is quite an undertaking. And about 5 years later, by that time, we had 3 different locations, a dozen staff, and hundreds of people coming on Sundays. And I was burning out. I was, in retrospect, trying to fill a need of not enoughness inside of me, that I felt like, man, if I could grow this church big enough, if I could help enough people, if we could get not 3 locations, but 9 locations, and if I could get that book deal, then I'll finally feel like I've kind of made it. And in the process, I was just burning out. And in 2008, hit a wall and chose to resign and completely pivot my life, and made some not so helpful decisions, and honestly checked myself into a mental hospital for 3 days, and needed just the help to reorient my brain. Ended up getting a brain scan through the Amen Clinic in
Mm-hmm.
Newport Beach. Dr. Daniel
Mm-hmm.
Amen wrote a book called
Yes.
Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And that brain scan just helped me understand different components of my brain. And, the guy who was helping read it, his name is Earl Hensland. And he was like, wow, your brain is wired to be an entrepreneur. It is just wired to be that way. And, basically they measure parts of your brain that are overactive or underactive. And he said the challenge, though, with the wiring of your brain is that it's also simultaneously kind of constructed to destroy relationships, because you're so intensely focused on something in your life. And so I had to go through a process of learning, basically taking responsibility for the brain that I had, and how would I, through the help of some medication initially, and through making different decisions, and find a way back to something that felt more stable. And so for me, I found that Christian ministry just was not an environment that was helpful for my brain. And so I ended up starting a marketing business and helping people with websites and graphic design and social media and all of that. And because I was working for myself, I had the freedom to explore different passion projects that really captured my heart. And the first thing that I wanted to go after was the issue of orphans in India. I had been to India quite a few times, taking teams of people to do humanitarian work. At the time, UNICEF indicated that there were 31 million orphans in the nation of India. And so a buddy and I got a cinematographer and just set out to find orphans who, they just live on their own in sections of India. And so we hung out with about 25 orphans living alongside a railway, and hung out with them for a couple of weeks and captured their stories, spent the night with them one night. And that documentary ended up getting picked up by Netflix. And it was on there 2012 to 2014. And that kind of lit something inside of me. I'd always loved creating things, but I was like, wow, okay, if I can turn my attention to an issue that's important to me, how can I amplify that issue, but also amplify the voices of people that are working on that issue? And that just lit me up.
So I want to go back to something very important that you said, because I think that it is a very common struggle that people have even in this moment if they don't realize it. And that's all the things that we chase to either prove to somebody else who matters greatly to us, or to prove to ourselves that we're worthy, that we're enough. That as long as I get, to your point, the next book published, or the next documentary, maybe it gets picked up by Netflix, or the next. What happened for you? What message or who was it that got you to re-examine that concept, that regardless of if you never accomplish another thing, that you're good enough just as you are? What happened there?
Yeah, it definitely was not a particular moment. I would say that I still was trying to figure out how to manage the speed of my brain. I ended up getting, at that time, 2008, on antidepressant and also anti-anxiety medication. I still take the anti-anxiety medication today, because what it does for me is it slows down the buzz that's going on internally, and allows me to have a conversation like with you, and not be thinking about all the things that I have on my to-do list right here, that I can just be completely present with you. And I found that the antidepressant medication was deadening something. I actually was on it for about 15 years and got off of it about 3 years ago. And I would say that it's just been a long process for me, Michelle. That is a big challenge for me to embrace my internal worth. I would even say it wasn't until probably 3 years ago that I started to actually love myself. I just had such intense disdain and hatred for myself for no good reason. My brain would just, I would find reasons. Like, you didn't do this good enough. This project wouldn't, it didn't go global. It only went national, and it's such a painful place to be in. And several years ago, I really got serious about how I describe it as the closedness of my heart. I began to realize that I wasn't having the type of connections that I wanted with my partner, my kids, friends, family, even myself, the divine, and that I didn't know why, but I started to realize, wow, I really have insulated my heart so much that there's nothing that's getting in there and having that intimate, rich connection that I actually long for. And so I actually started going pretty hardcore 3, 4 years ago, after a number of different modalities. Somatic healing. I've done a ton of somatic healing sessions, breath work, of course, guided meditation, and even 5-MeO DMT. A couple of
Mhm.
sessions of that really uh, opened up my eyes. I mean, I see very clearly some things, and then even some medicine journeys. I would say probably the medicine journeys, whether it was 5-MeO DMT, MDMA, or psilocybin, probably have helped me just incredibly, as well as the somatic healing sessions. Yeah, but it's been a long journey, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So so now coupling that with the work that you're doing now with the magazine and now the book series, I am sure because of what you've gone through, you recognize this instantly in others that
Hmm.
I'm not worthy. Why should I tell my story? Why would somebody want to listen to me? I'm nowhere near as interesting as David is. I haven't been to India. I'm not a videographer and a photographer and a book writer. And I'm just here doing my little job, trying to do my little thing in the corner of the world. And so when you see that self-talk in somebody that I'm not interesting or worthy enough to even tell my story, what advice do you give someone? Because I can guarantee you right now, somebody hearing your background is saying, well, of course he's doing all this and that and the other thing. I mean, oh my God, look at how accomplished he is, even through what you've gone through mentally, right? So if somebody's listening right now to this and they say, well, gosh, I just don't have that story. What advice or what would you say to that person right now?
Yeah. For me, the huge shift is from performance to service. So when I'm in a place where I'm feeling unworthy and I'm trying to prove something, so much of that is about performance. Like, I get on here today with you and I have a mindset of I'm not nervous at all because I'm not trying to prove anything to you or anyone else. I'm here just to tell my story, share any wisdom, and that's coming from a place of service. So anytime that I'm working with someone and there's either I don't have a story or, I can't help them or whatever the lies are, I'm nervous. I go, well, you're probably more in a place of you're anxious about how you're going to come off or perform in some way. So first shift is to go, you're here to serve. You're here to help. And in the process of that service, there's got to be an underlying belief that you do have a mission, a purpose, and a message. And I just believe everybody has that. Every single person has some sense of, and I believe it comes from the divine, from source, from spirit, from God, something that's inside of them to be a gift to humanity. and people's gifts can look a lot of different ways, and it's so easy to compare to whoever you look up to, right? To go, I don't know if it's Oprah or Deepak Chopra or some I don't know, whoever you look up to. It's so easy to compare and go, it's not me. But no, you have a mission, you have a purpose, and that shift from performance, I've got to impress, I've got to somehow like come off a certain way, to nope, I'm just here to serve. And I release the results. That all of a sudden for me feels like freedom,
Right.
It feels so
Right.
good.
So, do you work currently one on one with people? If somebody is looking for a coach, is looking for both on the mental and technical side of things, is that something you personally do? And then I want that, if you would, segue that into the magazine and how you have created this entire ecosystem environment to give folks a platform to get their story out, that would say, well, gosh, maybe I do have a story and I don't even know where to start to get it out there. So
Yeah.
walk me through that.
Yeah. First of all, the reason why we even started Awaken magazine was because I started to meet so many people like yourself who I believe are doing so much good in the world and in kind of more of the consciousness, mindfulness, spiritual space. I tend to see it along a continuum of anyone from kind of a conscious motivational speaker type individual to all the way down to people who are channeling galactic entities, and there's kind of everybody in between. The thing that I see that there's a thread of commonality is all of those people want to bring love, healing, transformation, and awakening to the world. And so I began to become aware of the concept of digital magazines and how we could utilize that as a way to amplify the voices of all of these people. Because if I can help someone like yourself amplify your voice and reach more people, that means there's more love, healing, transformation, and awakening in the world. And that lights me up. That makes me so excited because you're going to help people in a totally different way than I could ever help them. And so that's why we started the magazine. I really don't necessarily work anymore with people individually, other than the people that are what we call executive contributors to the magazine, just because the magazine takes so much time and energy, from me. Um, yeah, and the magazine, obviously people can find it at awakenmagazine.com. We put out different articles and interviews every single week, and it's all focused on anything that's going to help bring that healing and transformation to the world. And I get a chance to interview and work with incredible people like yourself every single day, so it's very fun.
It is very cool. And, I know David just threw the website out. I'm going to have that in the show notes as well. It's well worth checking out because the plethora of people and the variety and the spectrum of the experts and what people are doing out there. And I've been in this space for 20 plus years, and I'm so impressed with the level of folks that you are working with every week and the articles they're submitting. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that you can read and listen to that will do nothing but bring you down. So if you don't have 10x what your input is that is doing you good and feeding your soul and your heart and your mind, this is absolutely one of these things. And while we're on this topic here of the things that you're doing and what you're bringing forward in the world, tell us now about your book series, how that came about, and what your intention is with that.
Yeah, so in the process, we've only been in existence, I should say, just a little over a year. And so, in the process of that year of interviewing so many people, talking to so many incredible conscious leaders and healers and coaches, one of the first questions that I ask is, tell me about your journey of awakening. Because I believe that story is so powerful. How did you grow up? Did you grow up with some sort of, faith tradition or spirituality? And at what point in your life did you kind of have that moment of going, is there more to life than this? And oftentimes for people, it happens in the midst of pain, right? Some sort of challenge, some sort of breakdown. And we talk about that story, and I find them to be so unique, so compelling. And I began to think, okay, if I could capture these stories in a book and have these authors contributing each a different chapter. If I could get that book in the hands of, for me, the person that I'm most passionate about is a woman who has her kids in late high school, early college, and she's getting ready to be potentially an empty nester, and she's going, what do I do? I don't know. Right? I don't. Is there more to life than like helping my kids make sure they're leaving the nest? Wait, I'm not sure I want to be married to this knucklehead anymore. Or, is this, and I'm having these intuitive experiences. I've had this dream, or I saw something. And if I can get 20, 30 stories in her hands and her read that and go, oh, I'm not alone. And here are people who have walked this path. And it's like the book becomes a kind of a shining light along that dark path to give her inspiration, encouragement. And then, of course, would she want to reach out to those authors or one of those authors that she really resonates with in order to engage with them, to work with them, to take advantage of the resources they provide? So we launched the first book earlier this year. It's called Awakened Hearts, Stories of Life, Love, and Limitless Possibilities. And it's available on Amazon. I think we've got like 97 5-star reviews right now, and people have really enjoyed it. And we've got the second volume, Similar Stories, just a different book, coming out in November 2025. And so I'm inspired particularly by the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. That was huge in the 90s, and I dare to aspire to have something make an impact as much as that. I mean, that really was a global impact of inspiration. But if I can get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories of awakening out to people, I just think that will change the world. I really believe, because your story is so powerful. It has the power, as I mentioned, to be that light along that dark path. People feel seen. There's nothing like it when you see somebody's story go, oh, I'm not the only one. Okay, I thought I was the only one. Because maybe we don't talk about the multiple miscarriages. We don't talk about the struggling with a weight issue. We don't, maybe openly talk about with our friends issues with sexuality, or, whatever it might be. Maybe you don't talk about that. And so if you can read about it and go, okay, I'm not alone.
I want to touch on that concept of I'm not alone, and hearing somebody. There's so many different ways to consider that. Hearing one person's story that you've never met and you may never meet, but if you share that path and you're not alone, where you have spent years, if not decades, thinking I'm the only one that fill in the blank, and here's someone else, and not only are they sharing my journey, not only are they okay telling the story, they're okay telling the story public. It's in a book. And here I have been carrying guilt or shame or embarrassment or fill in the blank. And I'm reading the story and I don't feel any of that toward this person. I feel nothing but compassion and love and acceptance. And then maybe that can translate to me, and maybe I could start to give that to myself. And so what you're doing is so phenomenal. And I think it is so important in the world on this topic of not feeling alone and being seen, or having one person that believes in you or that has your back. I said in the beginning, I want to circle back to something you and I have in common. You're also affiliated, for anybody in Southern California, anywhere near Orange County, with a place called Behind the Lids. This is the uncanny where our paths crossed. So when I started this podcast, originally, we're going back 7 or 8 years. I mean, a while ago. And it was back in the day when podcasting was, let me tell you, I had 900 different wires, and it was a scene. It was just a scene to record, to edit, to whatever. It was just a nightmare. It just took all of my time. It was its own part-time to full-time job, getting a 30-minute show out once a week. So that said, when I first started, there was a gentleman by the name of Corey Miller, who every single, I mean, without fail, within 24 hours of my podcast dropping, would write to me and say, hey, just listen to that. Way to go. Keep it going. I never met this guy. I had no idea who he was, except that I remember a few years down the road, maybe 2 or 3, some period down the road, I followed him on social media. I see that he opens a place called Behind the Lids and is now doing meditation for groups. And, you get these feelings of such excitement for somebody that they made it, that, wow, he is really doing so much great. This person I never met. But most important to me, he was the single most important to my show, because I knew that if nobody else in the world was listening, I knew he was. I knew he was. And it mattered to me beyond absolute measure to show up in service, to say, today, this conversation, Corey, if you're listening, this is for you. And it brings tears to my eyes, because how we crossed paths was in my finding out. I reached out to you guys regarding your magazine, and through the conversation, just by happenstance, because it never could have come up, is that your partner Mandy here has taken over, is the owner of Behind the Lids. And I was shocked. I said, this goes back 7 or 8 years for me. And then I hear he passed away. And it was so heartbreaking, because I never had the chance to say, hey, you know what? All those years ago, when I didn't know what I was doing and it was a real struggle for me, thanks for being there for me. Thanks for listening. And so now, full circle, I have no doubt in my mind that he is right here with you and I saying, and now look at these two have come together. And so the story goes. And it never ends. And we never have any idea, when we click over one domino of that support, of that love, of that giving, where it's going to go. And so I am forever in debt to Corey, which now means to you. So whatever it is you're doing in life, you have my full support, both of you, in all that you're doing. And the greatness that you're bringing out to the world is absolutely phenomenal. And it is a blessing to get to chat with you and to get to give a shout out to Corey and say, thank you for everything. And thanks for, him kind of being one of the dominoes in your guys' path and in what you're doing. So as we are wrapping up here, that's what you have going on now. You have Behind the Lids, which is a center. Please look it up if you're anywhere in Orange County. It is well worth your time, of everything that we're talking about, the most amazing healers and teachers and facilitators, David being one of them, that they have there. There's the magazine. There's the book series. I'm certain you have your eye on something. So what is, if we threw magic fairy dust your way and the next couple of big things were to transpire for you, what is on your horizon for things that you're kind of looking out for that has you excited right now?
Yeah. Well, I'm most excited about our next event. We have an Awakened Lifestyle Expo coming up December 7th, 2025 in Orange County. And there are so many great spiritual experiences and events around the nation, but Orange County, I see that there's an opportunity here in Southern California to create something that is maybe a little bit more elevated, maybe even a little bit younger crowd. A lot of people that attend spiritual events and expos tend to be a little older. And I'm 52, so I'm in that category. But I just want to help younger and younger people have the opportunity to connect with some of these concepts earlier on in life. And so we're putting on our first big event there, and we're excited about that. And I will release another special print edition of the magazine. We release a print edition at Conscious Life Expo earlier in 2025. And so we'll release another one there. So, we're always dreaming of fun things. The whole point is, how do we help people like yourself amplify your voice to bring that message of love, healing, transformation, and awakening? But the ultimate reason why, is the way I say it, is to help others awaken to love, awakening to love, capital L love, that divine source, spirit, God, love that is within all of us, available to all of us. We're swimming. We are literally, in my head, I'm like, we're swimming in unconditional love. Nothing separates us from that unconditional love. Anything that we believe separates us from that is merely a figment of our imagination. And so that has been so transformative to me. And so I want to create, that's the whole reason why we have the magazine, the books, the events, is to awaken people to love. And I can't do that on my own. I want to help people like yourself play your unique role in doing that for our world.
So if someone's listening right now, one more time, again, this is going to be in show notes. Somebody wants to follow you in every amazing thing that you have coming up. Where are the places that they can go to find you, both on a website and then as well social media? Where is all of that?
Yeah, so it's just awakenedmagazine.com, past tense, awakenedmagazine.com. People ask, why did you name it that? Because the URL was available. That is the reason why. I have used the term awaken for years in all my film projects were Awaken Media. So I just love the concept of that. So awakenedmagazine.com. And then all of the social media is Awakened Magazine as well.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you immensely. If I haven't conveyed that enough, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, do. And in closing, I'm going back to 7, 8, 9 years ago. Corey could tell you, I wrap up every show with the same question. What is one thing, David, that you absolutely believe to be true?
I've already mentioned it, but I want to make sure that our listeners today know I believe that you have a mission. It is a unique mission that is just perfectly crafted for you. It's interwoven with your life story. It's interwoven with your unique personality, with your unique giftedness. It's all interwoven. And so you have all the resources you need in order to live out that mission. It doesn't have to be your full-time job, but it's you came here to this planet to bring a gift of service to us, to humanity, and we all need your gift, your service, your mission in order to make this place what it can be.
Well, as you all can imagine, if you've listened to me for any amount of time at all, you're hard pressed to find somebody more aligned in thinking than David and I are. That is the absolute truth. You are here for a reason. And I hope that through podcasts and books and magazines, you continue to spend time discovering and tapping back into the knowing of what that is. So I appreciate everybody for being here and listening. Check out the show notes. All of the links to David's magical world will be there. And the book is coming out at the end of the year. I'm thrilled I get to be a contributor in that. So you're going to hear a lot about that from me as the months continue here in 2025. And on a closing note, David, truly thank you for your time today and for everything you are doing for so many people and for humanity at large. I appreciate you immensely.
Thank you, Michelle. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you.